You're sitting inside, warm, dry, listening to wind rip shingles off a roof somewhere down the street. And then it just hits you. That cardinal, the one that was at your feeder like 6 hours ago, where the hell did it go? 'Cause it's out there, somewhere, in this. A bird that weighs less than the change in your pocket in a storm strong enough to snap power lines. And here's the thing, it's probably fine. Not probably like a hopeful guess. Probably like scientists have actually tracked this now, and what they found kind of breaks how you think about how fragile these little guys are. So I went down kind of a rabbit hole on this after watching finches lose their minds at my feeder the afternoon before a big storm hit last year. Like, aggressive, shoving each other off the perch. I actually thought something was wrong with them. Turns out, nothing was wrong. That was the plan. For a long time, ornithologists just didn't have a great way to study this. Too fast, too small, too chaotic to track in real time. It's only recently, with these tiny GPS trackers and better radar, that people have actually pieced together what's going on in a bird's head and in its body in the hours before the sky falls apart. And the short version is, birds aren't caught off guard. Ever. Long before you feel the first drop of rain, they already know. By the way, if you're into this kind of, wait, birds do what stuff? Might as well subscribe now because there's more of this coming. Here's the part that got me. Birds have a structure in their inner ear that basically works like a built-in barometer. It picks up on tiny drops in air pressure. We're talking changes so small a human couldn't feel them without an actual instrument. The second pressure starts dropping at storm rate, something in their nervous system just flips on, alarm load. And that's why the feeder turns into chaos beforehand. They're not just snacking, they're loading fuel, high-fat calories fast, because their metabolism runs so hot that a day or two without food isn't uncomfortable, it's lethal. Starvation, not the storm itself, is actually the bigger threat for a lot of these guys. I didn't clock that at first. I just thought they were being greedy. Nope, they were prepping for a fast they didn't choose. Okay, so once the wind actually picks up, flying away isn't really an option. People assume that's the move, right? Just fly out of the storm's path? But a house sparrow cannot outrun a weather system that's hundreds of miles wide. That's not bravery, that's just math not working out. So instead, they do something smarter. They disappear. Deep inside a dense evergreen, the thickest part of a hedge, a hollow in a dead tree, somewhere completely shielded from the wind. And then, this is the part that got me, they lock on. A bird's foot has this passive tendon system. The second it crouches on a branch, the tendons clench automatically, zero muscle effort required. The bird is mechanically clamped in place. The tree can whip back and forth for hours and the bird just rides it out. Not gripping through strength, gripping through pure engineering. Have you ever actually seen a bird just sitting there in wind that should be throwing it off the branch? That's why. Grips handled. Next problem, staying dry and warm, because feathers aren't just feathers. They're a whole system. There's a gland near the base of the tail that puts out this waterproofing oil and the bird spreads it across every feather with its beak. Rain just rolls off after that. Doesn't soak in at all. Then it puffs itself up, traps warm air right against the skin. A sparrow in a storm can look almost twice its normal size, like a little feathery balloon. But that puff isn't for show, it's an actual thermal layer, keeping its core temperature stable while everything outside goes to hell. So at this point, grip locked, body waterproofed, heat sealed in. It just waits. Now, here's where it gets a little unhinged. Not every bird hides. Bigger birds, gulls, terns, and pelicans sometimes fly into the storm, straight into the eye of a hurricane. Radar's caught this more than once, whole flocks getting sucked toward the calmest part of the entire system. And inside the eye, it's actually still, clear sky, quiet air. But they're trapped in there, carried along with the storm for potentially hundreds of miles, because the eye wall around them is way too violent to fly back out through. When the storm finally dies down, these birds get dropped somewhere completely foreign, exhausted, disoriented. It's a gamble, but when the alternative is flying through the eye wall itself, the gamble's worth it. But none of that works for hummingbirds. Their metabolism is just absurd. Heart rate over 1,000 beats a minute at times. They need nectar constantly. A multi-day storm with no flowers isn't inconvenient for them. It's a death sentence within hours. So they do something I genuinely didn't believe the first time I read it. They enter torpor. The bird hangs upside down from a branch, drops its body temperature down near the outside air, and its heart rate falls from over 1,000 beats a minute to under 50. Breathing slows down to almost nothing. If you looked at it, you would swear it was dead. It's not dead. It paused itself. And it holds that state completely still, completely shut down, until the temperature rises again. Then its heart just restarts. Temperature climbs, eyes open, and it flies off like nothing happened. I had to read that twice. A living thing just switches off and switches back on. When the storm finally breaks, there's one last problem. These birds come out of hiding completely empty. Fat reserves gone, and the landscape around them is stripped. Seeds scattered, insects washed out, food caches destroyed. So they're not safe yet. They're in a race against starvation in a place that's temporarily bare. Which is honestly the whole reason filling your feeder right after a storm actually matters. It's not just a nice gesture. For a bird that just spent 12 hours locked onto a branch or shut down in torpor, that feeder might be the only thing standing between it and starving out. So, that cardinal from the start? It's almost certainly fine. Hidden in a hedge somewhere, tendons locked, feathers oiled, just waiting it out. Same as it's done for millions of years before you ever put out a feeder. Next time the sky turns that weird green-gray and the wind starts building, you'll know exactly what's happening on the other side of your window. If you want more of this kind of hidden in plain sight bird stuff, there's another one I think you'll like. I'll drop it right here.